Hi, everyone. It's Steve. Here I am in Yerushalayim, in the inner of the inner of the inner, in the old city of Yerushalayim. I don't know if you could see it, but behind me is Har HaBayis, where, please God, we will build the Beis HaMikdash very, very soon. So, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to all my friends all over the world who've been texting and emailing me, asking how I'm doing personally and what the situation is in Israel. I'm deeply touched by your concern. So I made a video last week. Maybe some of you saw, maybe you didn't. I was here for Sukkot, and my plan was to leave after Sukkot, and then the situation happened. And my driver asked me, what time I wanted to leave, and I said maybe we should leave an hour, 2 hours earlier than regular time. And then I had to go really deep. I said, I'm getting out of Dodge, and I'm not judging anyone that left Israel after the Chag, but I said, do I really feel more secure and safer in Miami, in Bal Harbor, Surfside, than I do in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Israel? And that really, really troubled me. And then the second part was, how do I leave the land of Israel? How do I leave 7 million Jews and go back to America? And again, I'm not judging anyone who left. But, every time there was a war or Mitzav, a situation in Israel, yes, we went to Tehillim rallies, we went to Psalm rallies, we raised money, and I would sell Israeli wine, Israeli products, trying to help buttress the Israeli economy. And when I would come to Israel on birthright trips and recharge trips, we would say thank you to Dalachem, to the soldiers. And in New York, when we would have events, Jody, Gavin, and I, we had a commitment to Israelis who served in the army, either giving them free dinners or free programs or discounted. But I never really put skin in the game, because I never was in the Israeli army. And I felt, and this was very sobering, for the first time in my life, is maybe I need to risk my life. Not that I'm risking my life, chas v'shalom, I'm not. But maybe I need to be real. And that was my decision to stay in Israel. And the other part was, many of you know, I have very dear friends, Alba and Pamela Klayman. And 20 years ago or so, they started an organization called Thank Israeli Soldiers, basically doing whatever they could to help Israeli soldiers on many, many levels. And I thought I could do more here than I could in Miami. And I think, Baruch Hashem, I think that's been the case. I feel like I'm in a war room, in terms of trying to help Israel people and also certainly the army. And that's why I stayed. So what's going on now before we have our class? What's the Matzav? What's the situation? If you speak to every Israeli, the feeling here has never happened before. It's just very, very overwhelming. Our soldiers are a mess on the border of the south. Our soldiers are in the north. Internally, we don't know what's going to be. It's a very, very challenging situation. But, and there's a big but, Israelis are not worried. They're concerned, but they're not scared. We know, please God, we're going to be successful, but at what cost? But I just want to share with you, again, I'm not judging, but being out of Israel, watch the news, and every Jew cares and every Jew is concerned, and you watch the news and you read everything going on. But then you go back to your life, you go back to your job, you go back to the gym, you do what we do. Here, it's 24/7. Every hour, another Jew was found, was murdered, and the way they were murdered was beyond anything you're reading about. It's 10% of the reality of what they did to our people, but that's another conversation. But the people of Israel are amazing. There's tremendous achdus, tremendous unity. Haredi, secular, everyone is together. If you go to the supermarket, you start seeing Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, 50 people start dancing with you. There's a tremendous achdus. Last week, 100, maybe there's even more, 100 restaurants in Tel Aviv, non-kosher restaurants, were kashered by Rabbi Lau, so they should be able to provide food to the soldiers in the army. Yesterday, we got a call. Over 2,000 Haredim have signed up for the army, 120, 200 just today alone. Tremendous achdus in the country. Everyone here is involved with something for the nation. Either they're delivering food or packages to the army bases. They're delivering food to families. People going to Shiva calls. People going to the hospitals, visiting the sick. You don't have that in America like this. Everyone's involved with something in terms of the situation. It's beyond. And I just want to share with you, externally, the Ahavas Yisrael, the concern of Jews for other Jews outside of Israel, is beyond belief. I have like an inner circle of 4 or 5 individuals, and the chesed, the quantities of material supplies that are flowing from Israel, from New York and Boston and Toronto and LA and from London and from Texas, is beyond belief. One of my jobs, so to speak, is trying to synergize different groups. Some people have the planes, some people have the material. My brother Jeff in the 5 towns, Lawrence, organized 15 or 20 pallets of medical supplies. There's a woman, she's very involved in the Syrian Jewish community in Flatbush and Deal. They've sent 50, maybe 100 pallets of clothing and underwear and different things that the army needs. Our own Jody Samuels and her husband took in 3 lone soldiers, and I think they have at least 2 families staying with them. And Jody's been involved trying to get winter coats for the soldiers. Her own son, Marone, I carried at his bris, is on a border area. Very, very challenging situation. All right. But the chesed that's going on throughout the world is beyond belief. It's really, really, really very, very special that we're very, very, very united. On the basis, I can tell you, all the officers that I've met, there's tremendous simcha and joy and no pachad, there's no fear. There's tremendous, tremendous unity on the bases. They're ready to do what they have to do. Please God, we won't have to go in. Shem will take care of this, but our boys are ready to do what they have to do to wipe out Hamas, whatever they take. The only concern I have is that our government, the American government, is going to once again stop Israel from taking care of itself. Please God, I don't think that's going to happen, but they're going to wipe Hamas out. And they're going to probably bifurcate the Gaza, most of the tunnels and such are in the north, and reoccupy Gaza, whatever that means. And in the north, we'll wipe out Hezbollah. So I hope our government stays resolute and let Israel do what they have to do. But there is no fear. These really people, are very, very clear that we have no recourse. And that's the situation. Okay, so that's it. So you've heard me say this many, many times. 2,000 years ago, we had a base on Mikdash over here. We had a civilization in Israel, and we were kicked out of the land. And the Torah is very, very clear. Our sages are very, very clear. We were kicked out of our land, not because they weren't keeping Shabbat. We have to do so. Not because they were keeping kashrut. They were doing that. They were putting tefillin on. But the Jews had stuff with one another. They're jealous of one another. They maligned each other. Right? All that stuff. And Hashem says, now plan B is you're going to have to change the world from outside your borders. And it's going to come at a tremendous cost. You're going to be thrown to the wolves of the world. But the day will come, Hashem says, I'm going to bring you back to the land of Israel. All of this, the pogroms and the Holocaust, Inquisitions, and this Matzav, this war now, is because we haven't fixed the problem from 2,000 years ago, and that is Ahavas Yisrael. I don't have to love a Jew the way they practice their Judaism, but I have to love another Jew. And I believe this is not a war against Israel. This is a war against the Jewish people. If you see and you watched all the rallies in Scotland and London and Boston and Toronto and Chicago, they are not clamoring about giving back the West Bank. They're talking about from the river to the sea. They want Israel. This is against the Jewish people. This is a spiritual war. We have to be very, very clear. I believe that if we get our act together spiritually and we have unconditional chesed and kindness for one another, and that I see happening. I really do. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this within Israel, outside of Israel, that maybe this Galud, all this is going to come to an end and Mashiach will come. That's the world according to me. And I think it's a very, very special time now that Hashem is watching our actions and our words. So the class we have now, and I've given this a number of times based on Rabbi Pliskin, is chesed. So that we know, Torah tells us, that we have to love a Jew like oneself. But what does that mean to love a Jew like oneself? So the founder of the Hasidic movement, the Baal Shem Tov, he taught the word love in Hebrew is hava. The root word hava is hav, which means to give. What does it mean to love another Jew like myself? Is to give another Jew what they need. Not sure what you want to give them, a job, a smile, a shidduch, setting them up. Now is the time that we have to double and redouble when we meet another Jew. What can I do to make another Jew's life better? Okay, what can we do to make the life of another Jew better? My fathers, I used to say, a non-Jew is my best friend. Jews are mishpacha. And now is the time to look for opportunities of doing chesed, look for opportunities of Ahavas Yisrael. Okay, so we have to be very, very clear that we have a top kid. We have a purpose in this world. That every one of us, every Jew, has unique skill sets necessary for what they need to do in this world to make a difference in the world. We have to be very, very clear. Now is the time. Whatever your skill sets are, use that for the Jewish people, for Israel. All right. So my great mentor, teacher, adopted mom was Rebbetzin Esther Young Grace. And she taught that the word for soul in Hebrew, S-O-U-L, is neshama. And the root word of neshama is shem, name. That your name, okay, wherever your name is, and the other word in Hebrew for there, T-H-E-R-E, is sham. Shem, sham, the same letters. Wherever your shame is, wherever your being is, there you are to make a difference in the world. In our offices, in our buildings, in the gyms, whatever we are, that we're there for a purpose, to be very, very clear. And I wish I had $10 million to give away for tzedakah for every time someone says, Steve Eisenberg, how do you know so many people? And I say to them, you want the short version or do you want the long version? What's the short version? Hashem. What's the long version? Well, I happened to go to the wrong Starbucks to have a meeting and I met this woman and blah, blah, blah. And then I go to a wedding in Ohio. I sit next to this lovely couple, Holocaust survivors. And that's how I got my first rent stabilized apartment in New York. It was a very, very clear shkacha pratis that every person that we meet, every Jew that we meet, what can I do to make that Jew's life better? It might be a simple saying hello, walking down the street on Broadway, on the Five Towns, or in Teaneck saying Shabbat Shalom, just saying hello to someone. It's chesed. Okay, so continuing, what kind of person do we want to be? They say that if a person spends 10,000 hours doing something, some endeavor, you become expert in it or become good at it. Do you want to be a kind Jew? Then invest, spend 10,000 hours. You will become the person that you want to be by doing Aseh Chesed. But what happens if you don't feel it? Doesn't matter. Fake it until you make it. Well, you don't have the right motivation. So what? It doesn't. Lo lishma, bo lishma. Now is the time. Push yourself. Push yourself. Hashem's watching us very, very carefully how we interact with one another. Go for the gold. First thoughts. When you meet another Jew, again, non-Jew's my best friend, your first thought should be, what can I do to make this person's life better? Again, a smile, a job, a shidduch. But what happens if you say to yourself, you know something? I don't know if I really can, it doesn't matter. I believe just doing his stadla, just by showing the effort and trying to help someone, set them up. I think it brings down brachas for that person. When Hashem sees that so many people are concerned about this individual, and even if you weren't the vehicle of the good for that person, the fact that you tried, it could bring down the bracha for the person. People say, I can't set anyone up. I don't have connect. Try, take the email and forward it. You'd never, ever know where it's going to land. By the way, for those of you who like sources, we have Megillah Esther. We have a woman by the name of Esther and Mordechai. And Mordechai says to Esther, you know, there's a Holocaust coming, and I think you should really go to the king because our people are in danger. I don't know. You know, the king doesn't know I'm Jewish. I'm risking my life. And Mordechai says something. I try to lead my life this way and says, you know, Esther, it's going to happen. Hashem is going to save us. Are you going to be the vehicle of Hashem's redemption or not? That's our choice. Hashem is going to get this person a job and get this person a shidduch. You know, so many people on the West Side, especially rabbis I know, after a couple gets engaged, they'll say, you know something? I thought of that, but you didn't do it. Or you know something? I knew both of them, but you didn't do it. All right? It's like a finder's fee in business. Two guys get together, you'd make the introduction, you could have made $5 million, $1 million. Is be a vehicle of the good. Try at least try. First thoughts, you have to have Hashem colored glasses. Why is this person in my life? Why did I meet them? Okay. Once you give it away, again, for those of you who've gone to my classes in New York, Miami, you've heard me say this many times. Rebbetzin teach. The word to give in Hebrew is notain. Nun, tuf, nun, tuf, nun, safit. It's spelled the same way backwards and forwards. It's called a palindrome. What did we learn from this thousands of years ago? When you give, you are receiving. Every act of chesed that we bestow on another person, you forget about it. Above, it's recorded. And I can tell you so many amazing things that happened in my life. And I know has nothing to do with Steve Eisenberg because the chesed that my parents or antecedents or my great-great-grandparents did. And now Hashem is taking care of me. So be very clear, when you give, you're receiving. Certainly, tzedakah, we all know, it's only the 2 times in Torah. The Torah tells us what the reward is of giving tzedakah, aser taser, the more money you give. By the way, not all tzedakah is tzedakah. That's another conversation. But if you be very clear, when you help another person, it comes back to you. Okay? In Hebrew, we call this midah keneged midah. You put yourself out for another person, Shem will put himself out for you, so to speak, anthropomorphically speaking. You walk away, you play a blind eye, and you come to Hashem, I need this, this, and this, and says, really, I'm going to treat you the way you treated my children. We should be very, very clear that when we give, it comes back. Learn from every person you meet. When I joined Bear Stearns many years ago, a non-Jewish partner said to me, Steve, find yourself a Rebbe at Bear Stearns. I'm like, what? Doug Duncan. He goes, find yourself a Rebbe. In any field of endeavor, I believe if you want to become great, you have to have a role model, you have to have a teacher. In sports, okay, you have to have a great coach to teach you and inspire you. If you want to be a great giver, you have to find role models. And Baruch Hashem in New York and all over the world, you have amazing role models in our communities. Learn from them, watch them. People are people, they make mistakes, but learn from people who know how to give and make a difference in other people's lives. Now is the time. Find yourself such people. Attach yourself to people and become that person. Learn from every person that you meet. Get yourself Rebbe's of chesed. What if you can't change the world and you can't be this and you can't be that? There's no such thing, in my opinion, as a small act of chesed. Every act of chesed is huge because you don't know the ripple effects that's going to have. A smile on someone, okay, by smiling to someone who's having a rough day, a rough week. You know that person, God forbid, was contemplating committing suicide. Or maybe by giving that person a compliment, the person is now going to go to a social function and have self-confidence. You know, I have an amazing mom, many of you know, and my mom will always have something good to say to someone. See something, say something. If you see someone have a nice haircut, tell them a nice blouse, a nice sweater, a nice tie. You drive someone's house and the bushes look great. Oh my God, your landscaping's amazing. Your husband's amazing. Your what? Always be a person. This is tremendous chesed, building people up. You know, very often in society, people, they make a joke. Steve, I'm only joking. No, you're not. A joke is a legalized way of giving someone a zetz. Being a person, building people up with great words. You know, I used to pray a daven in the Karbach Shul on the Upper West Side. And one of the things I figured out was, how do you know if someone was connected to Reb Shlomo Karbach? Did you feel better about yourself after you met them? All right? You meet people, you want to kill yourself after you meet them because they always have a negative thing. Don't give them a zetz. Like, think of the words. Think about your emails and texts and your communication before you say something, before you text someone. Think about, how is this going to play out to the other person? You could say what you want to say, and people do that. But think about the sensitivity and the way you say it. All right? This is the time. Watch your emails, watch your texts, watch it. And I'm personally having a very, very challenging time. You know, I'm dealing with many, many people on an hourly basis in different chats and the way they're posting and what they're saying and whatever. And it's very, very challenging for me, but I have to remember my communication. I'm not always doing it well, but this is the time. This is the time to start learning is chesed. Jump into the game. Don't wait to see what chesed is needed. If you see something that's lacking in the community, if you see something lacking in someone's life, jump in and get involved and try to help. And again, if you knew that every time you did a chesed for another person, and Michael Steinhardt, God bless him, deposited $100,000 in your bank account, all right, and that person would thank you, knows thank you. If you don't see it this way, then we're out of our minds. We have no idea by doing a chesed for another Jew what that means upstairs. And again, believe, I think we have a good shot here of ending this gullus. The last thing Rabbi Noah Weinberg said to me alive was very interesting. He said a few things, but one thing he said to me was, Mashiach is coming. If you know Rabbi Weinberg, he wasn't a Lubavitcher. Okay? He says, who's going to be very upset when Mashiach will come? I said, no. He said, people who are connected to the Torah, because they're going to say, oh my God, why wasn't I trying to save the Jewish people? Why wasn't I inviting people for Shabbos? Why wasn't I helping another Jew? Why wasn't I learning more Torah? Why wasn't I giving more charity? Because once the curtain goes up, there's no more chesed, really, because everyone's going to know what we're supposed to do. There's no more yetzer hara. There's no more negative inclination. Everything that we do now is so precious. Everything that we do. And then afterwards, everyone's going to know. And all those animals throughout the world, okay, who are maligning us, they're in such a rude awakening. The world's they're not even going to know what to do with themselves. Maligning of people that gave them every motion picture company for my class before. We gave them sociology, we gave them philosophy, we gave them medicine, we gave them movies, we gave them the comedy profession, every designer, every supermarket chain, every department store chain, Barbie, every toy company, and all the world did Waze, WhatsApp, the cell phone, AOL Messenger. All right, almost every city in America was built by Jewish developers. And all we've done for 2,000 years, not try to convert people, not try to murder people, all we try to do is share light. And all they do is malign us over and over and over again. Now's the time for chesed. Okay. Words. Rebbetzin Youngreis, again, when she came from Europe, she said she learned many, many things. And one of the things she learned was sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me, never hurt me. So what are they talking about, right? Half of Manhattan are in therapy because of negative words from childhood or from their parents. Is before we speak, think about the words. This is chesed, good words, positive words. And by the way, this also applies to ourselves. I know many, many people would never say negative things to other people, but they are horrendous when it comes to themselves. If you find yourself putting yourself down, I'm too short, I'm too this, I'm too that, these are negative tapes from childhood. Now is the time watching your words. But what happens if you don't feel kind? What happens if you don't feel like doing chesed? Fake it. Fake it till you make it. Baby steps. Push yourself. One of the things I started doing years ago was before I put my head on the pillow, and sometimes I'm so tired, is I review my day. One thing I would have done differently, and one thing I did to help change the life of another Jew. All right? Baby steps. Every day. Don't go into the night without, or before you go to sleep, what did I do today to make someone's life better? Now, what happens if you fail? So what? Get back up and keep trying. Keep trying. More chesed. Expressing gratitude. We have many people in our lives who help us. You can never thank someone enough. To be a Jew, we call ourselves Yehudim. And Yehudim come from the word, from the Yehudah. And Leah had more children than she had expected. There were 4 matriarchs. Each one was supposed to have 3 children. She had more than 3 children. She called herself Yehuda from the word Todah, or Modeh. To admit, to be a Jew means to be an appreciative, thankful person. Someone made a difference in your life. In Spanish, they say gracias. In French, they say merci. Spasiba. We say todah. Todah, the root word is modeh, which means to admit. Tremendous chesed is being able to thank people who make a difference in our lives. And for many people, it's a challenge, but now is a time to be appreciative, certainly from Hashem. We discussed don't wait for an invitation, right, to do chesed. We discussed mida keneged mida. We discussed measure for measure, the way that we treat listening to people. So this is a challenge for me, is sometimes just by listening to someone, that's a tremendous chesed. It's not always easy when someone's going through stuff. I don't want to hear it already. I heard it already, and I have to work on that myself. It's a tremendous chesed by just listening to people and talking it out with people as well. Praying for someone's welfare, okay? You're single, your friend's single. We know when you pray for someone else, your prayers get answered quickly, faster. Is daven for someone else. Make a list, daven for people. We should all be praying, whether it's in English or French or Spanish, for our soldiers, our holy soldiers, and for the nation. But be a person who prays for other people. Bless people in your mind. Bless people in your mind. Reb Shlomo Carlebach used to say, if you don't keep Torah, oivavai. But if a Jew can't bless another Jew, oivei. You have issues with someone. We all have people who are challenging in our lives. At least bless them in your lives, in your mind. Say, you know something? I hope they heal. I hope that they change. I hope they get married. I hope the business improves. Don't be afraid of helping a person over and over and over again. I helped him already. No, you can never do enough for another person. Very often people say, Steve, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to trouble you. And it's chutzpah for me asking you. You can ask me for anything and I can say no with a smile, hopefully. All right. People go, Steve, can I move into your apartment in Miami for 6 months? Thank you so much. But the answer is no. Don't get upset. If someone asks you for something, just say no. I'm sorry. You can't do it. All right. We discussed leaving people feeling better about themselves and before. And finally, is chesed for ourselves. We have to love ourselves. If you don't love yourself, get away from me. All right. If you don't think that you're amazing with humility and you don't think that you're special, then how are you going to love someone else? So let's review. 2,000 years ago, in back of me, we had a Beis HaMikdash, and it was destroyed. Not because we weren't keeping Torah, we were doing all that, because we had sinas chinam, we had stuff with one another, we maligned each other, we were jealous of each other. Now is the time. This is a spiritual war against Klal Yisrael. And I believe the only way out for good is for us to do random acts of chesed and kindness with our words and with our deeds. We discussed today is we are what we practice. If you want to be a chesedic person, you have to practice. No chesed is too small. We discussed mida keneged mida, measure for measure. The way that we treat another Jew is the way the Almighty treats us. You need so much from Hashem. Hashem says, really? Where were you when this one and that one called you up? Now's the time. What's important to them is important to me. All right? Look for opportunities to do chesed. We discuss tonight, Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, Shem, the central dispatch. The Rebbetzin would always say that the word in life is Chayim. The word of Chayim are 2 Yuds, which is Hashem's name. If we have Hashem-colored glasses, Melanie Simon, okay, if we have Hashem-colored glasses, we see that every person's in our life for a reason. Not only that, but Hashem has given all of us special characteristics and traits. I'm not a great writer. There are people who are great writers. Now's the time to be writing on social media, defending our people. If you have money, you have access to money, now's the time to raise money, right? This is big acts of chesed. And then we discussed the word to give, notain, is felt the same way backwards and forwards. When you help another Jew, you're helping yourself, you help your children, your grandchildren, all right? The way that we treat another Jew is the way the Almighty treats with us. What can we do now? We're not in Israel. Is number one, give money. You have to vet the charities. There are many organizations raising money, and organizations and individuals, and I'm sure they're all great, but do your homework. And if you don't know which ones are really good, you contact me, ask Jody. There are many people, ask probably your rabbis. Number two, lobby, write your congressmen and senators and the president. What they were very, very concerned about in Israel, the soldiers are very strong, and they are going to do what they have to do to protect our people. But they're worried that right now, the entire Jewish people, America is behind us. What's going to happen, God forbid, if this thing goes on, not a week or 2 or 3 or 4, but 2 or 3 months? Are we going to have the resolve? It's very important to stay with the soldiers, all right? Very important. And something which I learned in the last week or so, I always thought it was a hokey thing when I saw yeshivas and day schools writing letters to the soldiers. I met an officer in a very, very elite combat unit, and he told me, what's very important to soldiers besides toothbrushes, because I have enough toothbrushes to brush my teeth every hour on the hour for the next 6 months, is letters. So we had the letters in the tents from Jews from all over the world. I was flabbergasted. Yeah, there's an organization, Thank You Israeli Soldiers. I think there's an application there. It means a lot to know the Jewish people behind them. I was blown away. I really didn't think they really cared. They really care that we care throughout the world, that we care and we love them. Sending them boxes of stuff. By the way, the military bases do not need more stuff. Okay, they do not. There's a few items on the military list. We're trying to help them. Everything from tents to warmer clothing, and we're sorting all that out. They don't send more stuff, okay, unless it's really a reliable source telling you. But they don't need more stuff. But we do need money. Right? It's very costly. We need people to daven. We need to do the lobby. We need letters, and we need the Jewish people to respond to this in the deepest way with chesed, more chesed, more chesed, more chesed, ahavas Israel. And I believe if we do that, then not only will this war be over or not even begin, but we will come back to where we started 2,000 years ago. So with that, Am Yisrael Chai, 2,000 years, the Romans and the Greeks, the Mesopotamians, Nazis, the communists, they're gone. We will win this. Please, God, our soldiers will be protected, but it's up to us now. So Am Yisrael Chai, thank you very much. And not see you back in Miami, see you in Yerushalayim. Thank you very much.